Okay, let's not delay anymore, I guess, and let's start today's event. Welcome again, everyone who is joining us. We're really happy to see you all here at our regular Speakers Corner. Just a few words about this format. It's a format where our experts from Cyclum are sharing their expertise and their knowledge with the community and with you guys. Today, we are going to talk about resolving professional conflicts and strategies for success in the modern workplace, together with our speaker, Clara. But before that, let me mention some important details worth knowing. First of all, this event is already being recorded, and you will, of course, get the email, a follow up email with all the slides and also the recording. Now, let me share with you just a few words about Cyclum before we start. So, Cyclum is a global digital solutions provider company. If you will see on the slide, but I will tell you anyway before that we have been on the market for more than 20 years. And our headquarter is in London, and we have more than 20 actually offices and locations worldwide. You can see that now on the screen. We have more than like 4,000 professionals which are working with us at Cyclum in different kind of domains like fintech, medicine, health, retail, and others. Among our clients, we have some amazing market leaders like eToro, like Just Eat, and also many others. And some of them you can see on this slide. So as I already mentioned, today we are going to be talking about resolving professional conflicts together with Clara. Clara is a Scrum Master at Cyclum. We will have a lot of interesting quizzes and practical cases, so it's not only theory. I hope it will be extremely interesting for you guys and useful also. Now let's welcome Clara, who will, of course, introduce herself and start the event. And also let me mention that if you will have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And Clara will answer them later at the end of the event during the Q&A session. Clara, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So I believe now you see the screen, right? Because I did exactly the same, so now it should work.
Yeah, we can see it totally fine.
Okay, perfect. And now you see the third slide, right? Just to confirm.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm really happy to be here with you today. My name is Klara Viskochulova. I'm from Czech Republic and I work for Cyclum Western Europe. I work with teams on teams level, but also with organizations. So I do also agile coaching currently. I have experience in project management for past 6 years. I studied from waterfall, I studied PMI standards, then moved through product ownership, product management to agile coaching. I have really great passion for coaching itself, transformational coaching and supporting individuals and teams. So that's why today we will talk about the conflict resolution, but also how we can resolve conflicts and avoid conflicts as well, disagreements, and what you can do for yourself. I will not talk longer about myself so we can get ahead. And I would love to start with this amazing quote by Benjamin Franklin. As already Slamir mentioned, this is a webinar, but still I wanted to give opportunity for you not just to listen somebody speaking theory or even experiences, which definitely may help you to understand better, but also give you opportunity to experience it. So we will have some questions in Zoom, which can help you to reflect, but also a little bit test your knowledge, what I will talk about. And also there will be further exercises for you to experience at home or for the conflict anywhere else. So now if we could show the first question. So yeah, this is the quote, tell me and I will forget. So of course I will mention some theory linked to experience. So I will show you, you may miss something, but I will also try to involve you so you can learn and transform yourself. Now, going to your experience for your reflection, if you could answer the question. I will answer as well.
Okay, we have more than 20 answers. Let's see the results.
Okay, so 77% says yes and 23 no. So this is for you reflection. We have another question following this one. What is the reason for not speaking up? Maybe it's not always, right? But maybe in certain situations, you don't want to face the disagreement or conflict. So what is it? I'm not sure if everybody actually is familiar with quiz in Zoom, so just would like to mention because those questions can be quite sensitive for someone. So definitely, first of all, you don't have to answer them. Second of all, it's anonymous, so we don't store the data. Yes, so we don't take the data afterwards. This is really just for you to reflect on your experience and maybe take something from it. Okay. So we have fear of conflict, also lack of communication skills, other offending criticism and rejection. All right. Thank you very much for participating. We will touch all of those, I believe. And in terms of strategies for resolving conflict, definitely not something new for you or rocket science, but we will talk a lot about communication and how you can use communication in order to talk to people, but also resolve conflicts or disagreement. Okay, let's go to the opening overall of our conflict resolution. As I already mentioned, the key for problem solving and conflict management involves consistent and respectful discussion and resolution of issues, right? Definitely avoiding the issue, not speaking up, not raising the points, or not being able to discuss things is not the way to resolve conflicts. So be mindful that always it's about communication, and we will talk about it today. Before we go to the fears of conflicts and other problems, I would like to walk you through 5 levels of conflict. This is something which is, of course, theory, but I will also try to use it on some examples, and we will have a quiz afterwards. So you know that if you are in a disagreement and you already think, oh, this is such a big conflict, or this is maybe not a conflict, that there are certain levels where we can be in a conflict. When we go from the bottom to top, the first one is a problem to solve. On this level, the situation is win-win for both sides. It means that both sides, both people in a disagreement or conflict, share objective information, share the facts, language is open, friendly, it's fact-based, and they want to resolve the conflict. Okay, so there is no blaming, no excuses. It's really open communication between two people. The second level is disagreement, when there is already personal protection over collaboration. There can be words like, yeah, you said it the last time, and a little bit already of blaming and really protecting our ideas and our solutions in order to resolve the problem. The language can be guarded and still open. The third one is contest, when the only objective of our solution is winning over resolving. Yeah, so the conflict itself, when going up in the levels of conflict, it starts to disappear, and we start really putting our personal things up front the issues. Language includes personal attacks. People start blaming others, and it's not fact-based, but starts to be really subjective, also in terms of communication. The fourth one is crusade, when the language is really ideological. We still start personal attacks and it's growing. And if we talk, for instance, in terms of team, there are starting to be two parts. Yeah, so before, maybe in Problem to Solve, there were two people having a disagreement or something, but in Crusade, the team already starting to split and there are two sides. Yeah, so people say them, those kind of words like they did it, they don't want to do this, etc. And they protect the one side and the one group of the problem. And at this time, problem is already somewhere in the wood. They don't know about it at all because it's really personal. And the last one, it's winning or losing. So, of course, everybody wants to win, but the model ends up with lose-lose. Yeah, so they want to literally destroy each other. So there is almost no language. They don't want to talk to each other, or just really little, but it's so really personal, and they rather would love to win and also destroy the other person. And all in many cases, I would say the end solution is okay. They cannot win both, or even one of them. It's really lose-lose. Okay, let's go to a case study, which I will read, and then we will have a question for this. So the case study is that in a dynamic IT company, team designers, two team members, Alice and Bob, have been clashing repeatedly over their differing approaches to a crucial problem. The tension between them has escalated to the point where they've started engaging in personal attacks during team meetings and discussions. Alice is passionate about creativity, pushing boundaries, often proposing unconventional ideas. On the other hand, Bob is more conservative, preferring data-driven strategies and proven methods. They both genuinely believe that their approach is the best for the project's success, but their disagreements have taken an unhealthy turn. The situation has become increasingly challenging for the whole team, affecting morale and productivity. Other team members feel uncomfortable, and some have even started taking sides further exacerbating the conflict. Can we have the question? And the question is, what is the level of conflict? Okay, so the most votes we have for contest. That's correct. There is also crusade and disagreement. It's not disagreement because they started to have also personal attacks. It's even highlighted by the green color. So definitely not disagreement because it will not be that personal. Crusade, yes, people started to thinking about the size, but here is really still contest because it's not that they would take the side and try to win and other discuss, but really it's still between those two people. Okay, let's move on. Some people for this study, when I presented, asked me what would I do. So in case there would be this question, I thought it would be also good to share what could have been done in such a situation if it happens. Because from my experience with teams, it happens a lot. Maybe it's not contest, maybe it's a disagreement. So it's not that burny, but happens really a lot that people have some conflicts and then don't even discuss it, and that's why it escalates. So as agile coach, team coach, or scrum master, I would definitely support both Rob and Alice to resolve their conflict. based on my experience and my beliefs, every coin has always two sides. And it's not even my role to take any side, but really to understand what is happening and support them to resolve. So I will have one-to-one with each of them separately to understand. Then, of course, depending on the outcome, my objective would be to resolve the disagreement and the conflict. So what I would then suggest either conduct mediation with both of them, which could help them to say the things out loud to each other in an objective way. Of course, that's why mediation, because I could play a role of mediator, making sure it's polite, empathetic, and it doesn't go into word war, I'd say. Have one-to-one coaching with them separately. Also, if there would be anything I could support them more individually, because sometimes, of course, we go into conflict with our personal stuff, our things, some biases, assumptions. So it can be also one person has problem with totally different thing, which also happened to me many times. So then one-on-one would help here. Or have also coaching together with them using communication stances. This is something maybe not that common in business. Communication stances you are used for conflict resolution, mainly I would say in family therapy, but can be also used in business. For that, you need to have a facilitator, and through your body, the facilitator will move you to the stances which are the most common, because there is a framework by Virginia Satir, and by this they could better understand what is the conflict about, how they feel in it, and how they can resolve it together. So this is really more transformational work. And second of all, I would definitely try to understand the impact of conflict on other team members. Yeah, so I would have one-to-one with each team member to know maybe more information about the conflict, but especially how each individual feels and what is happening for them in the team. Yeah, because if you support the full team, it's not just about the people they have conflict, it's about the full team. Even though they don't speak up, it has great impact on them. So this is how I would continue with the conflict resolution. Lencioni's model of 5 dysfunctions, I would say, is a great tool, theory for making awareness of some things in practice. I came to this model 1 year ago, and when I saw it, I was really amazed because this is so true. And for each level, I knew several experiences and examples, what happened in teams or how they communicated and etc. So that's why I wanted to show you some of this drawing here. Okay, can you maybe delete that? Okay. Yeah, so I wanted to show you the theory so you can also understand in practice what is happening when the team is dysfunctional and what may be the problems there and how you can behave, what you can do as a Scrum Master or even team member. Let me just grab the water. I would start again from the bottom where there is lack of trust. So if in a team there is a lack of trust, or even in a relationship, right? It doesn't have to be a team, even between those two people. People do not ask, they don't speak up. The meetings are quiet. People don't share things, not even positive things, but even problems. So there, even as a team member, you can encourage team members to speak up, maybe understand what is happening. And even with starting speaking up, you can encourage others. I had experience in team when there were some people who didn't speak up. So I approached it on one-to-ones to better understand, okay, this is what is happening. I would like to know why this is happening and how we can improve it, how you can improve it. So this is how I approach it. there was a problem at the time that there were some senior people and some junior people, and the junior people felt that they don't have such experience, so they didn't really trust even each themselves, let's say, and they didn't want to speak up because saw that the questions are pointless and it doesn't make sense. So we worked on it. I worked on it also with senior guys for them to let them know this and understand the situation. And then as a team, they started to communicate better, giving the other more space for speaking up and really being empathetic to each other. So that's what it means, be human, communicate, but in a kind way, of course, and not blaming or pointing out maybe in team meetings. The fourth one is fear of conflict. So that's the stage where people basically go around problems. It can be, of course, also linked to lack of trust. They don't confront each other or even issues, situations. And it can easily, of course, happen that the amount of problems accumulates and people eventually don't talk about it at all. So here, again, as a team member, but also manager or agile coach, you can always demand the debate. And you can open those things if you know about them, or you can question things in order to find out the problems, right? Of course, it's easier if as a manager or team member already know the problem, but always demand the debate. My latest example actually about this, we had, I'm just thinking how to say it to keep confidentiality. We had one team, and one team member came to me asking about feedback he gave to another developer, and that it wasn't done in a way he asked him to, but the developer still was saying, yeah, it's done. And he asked me, okay, what to do, with suggestions that we will just skip it and we will go around the problem. I confronted him a little bit, saying that this would not be definitely the approach, and that there may be definitely thousands of examples or scenarios why the other developer doesn't follow the feedback, or maybe he did it, and there are other things. So I suggested we have a call, three of us, both the developers and me as well, just confronting the situation. It wasn't even conflict, right? But it was really fear of going directly to him and telling to him. So I tried to make sure that we explain the situation in order to understand why the person behaved the way and didn't provide the suggestions and the fixes. The third one, lack of commitment. This happens, of course, when the team or people, maybe you know it also from your experience. I have it definitely personally in my life. When I don't have clear direction and priorities, I have lack of commitment to my objectives and my things, actually. People, of course, also then are not engaged. So there's absenteeism, and they don't want to commit to anything. So for this, definitely support the team and focus on clarity by questioning everything. This can happen really easily, even when people start the sprint. If I should put it in agile environment, for instance, in Scrum. So there we work with sprints. And what happened to me several times when I was actually product owner a few years ago, my user stories were not really clear, I would say. And on purpose also to some extent, but to some extent I missed some information, and because nobody speak up, and then we go also to another level, which was go around problems. So those team members didn't really speak up and didn't ask me. They were not really committed, even though they said, yeah, this is fine, we deliver. But we faced several iterations that there was really lack of commitment and transparency. So I started to question really a lot and making sure they understand. The way I did it, and especially good in some even cultures or types of people who don't talk that much is to ask them, okay, how did you understand this, what I just said? Because by this, you made them to say at least a majority of things you said the same way, but the way they understood as well. Yeah, so if they will say differently, or they say something different, or they say, I don't really know, then you know they don't know what where they are going and what they should develop. Yeah, so this is really, I think, great method. My ex-colleague used it a lot with me. We worked and we had a meeting. And at the end of the meeting, he always asked me, told me, okay, Clara, if I understood it well, this is what we aligned on, and this is what I will do, and this is what you will do. And it was a great summary because we were both on the same page. And we were committed because we knew what we are going to achieve. Also can happen when the team in bigger organization, or can be also, of course, small, there is clear the product the team works on, but the team doesn't really know how their work contributes to the company maybe goal. Yeah, because of course company has a vision, they have strategy, they go somewhere, and then we have maybe the product, and how does it really fit with the company strategy and overall vision? That can also create lack of commitment for people when they don't know how their work impacts overall vision and the strategy. So really making sure there is this connection and the team understands and is committed. The last one, not last, least, avoidance of accountability. Also can be, of course, linked to others when people avoid, the transparency, and they are not committed, they are missed deadlines and key deliverables. Can be also, of course, poor performance, and people don't want to speak up about it, and they just say they will do it next time. But in my point of view, there is really lack of transparency as well as lack of commitment. And the best is, of course, to confront difficult situations and support team members to be accountable for their work. I believe the best way, what we try to do in Scrum is, for instance, review or any meeting we have, for instance, with stakeholders and product owner, because there the team needs to feel the commitment, accountability for what they committed for the sprint, but also what they want to do in the next sprint. And this transparency can support them in terms of communication and really thinking twice maybe when something taking to the sprint, and to really assessing their capacity and overall delivery. And the last one, inattention to result, can be that the team again has poor performance and results, and unfortunately the cost can be high turnover. What you can do is to focus on outcome and really be clear again which direction we are going, what does it mean for us, and what will be the outcome. Yeah, so also face this one with the team when a client wasn't really clear with the objectives, and the team just worked on something, but the last outcome wasn't really clear. Okay, how we can contribute to this, what is the result of it, what is the final outcome of it. So always question things, even as a team member. If you don't understand or really vaguely, feel free to question things, because maybe even other people didn't think about it, which is not bad, right? But maybe it triggers some processes and you will find out more. Okay, and here we go to another question. What would you do if you were Christoph? I selected maybe hard name for some people, it's Czech name. So there is a team of 5 team members, 3 employees of a company, and 2 outsourced developers by another company. They all get along well and support each other. Bob, employee of a company, starts to have personal problems, and by the time this reflects on his performance at work. Christoph, our sales developer, notices his low performance and does not like it, but he likes working with his colleague and does not want to lose him. So if we could have a question, what would you do if you were Christoph? Just want to say there may be few options you would do as the best options, but we ask for the first best option. Okay, and with most votes, we have talked to Bob and tell him my observation and concern. Yes, that's definitely the one you should do as first one. Ah, it disappeared. Can we see it again? Or not? Okay, thanks. So that's definitely the first one. As a second one, of course, depending on the Bob reaction, another one could be that either Bob or together, of course, if you have Scrum Master, the person could support, right? Or anyone else. But definitely first talk to the person and tell him the observation and concern. Okay, we can close it then. Thank you. I'm just actually seeing that we have 30 participants. So guys, if you have any questions during, definitely feel free to write to chat, because I think it's not a big amount that I would not be able to answer, maybe even during. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat. What I didn't say in the beginning is that we will select 3 questions at the end, and those 3 people will get transformational coaching with me for free, 1 hour. So if you wanna also participate in this, when you write your question, please put their link to your LinkedIn or name how we can find you, but better would be definitely LinkedIn. And I would approach you afterwards if you are selected for the one-on-one coaching. Okay, and we have another question. In this case, if you can imagine that you are a Scrum Master. For those who don't know, Scrum Master is a role in a Scrum team who supports the team maturity in terms of Agile, facilitates ceremonies, coach the team towards Agile maturity, and self-organization and management. Just try to quickly sum it up. So you are a Scrum Master and product owner comes to you complaining about one developer, asking you to solve the situation and talk to this developer. She complains, sorry, I will just finish the scenario. She complains about his transparency of work done, joining meetings late and answering it in a technical language she does not understand. What would you do as the first thing? Again, there may be few options, but as the first thing in this role, what would you do?
Wow.
Okay, with 60%, ask the product owner what she has done in order to resolve the problem. Yes, that's the correct answer. Then we have also talked to the developer, to a manager of developer. At this point, this situation happened to me, actually. And what I did was indeed asking the product owner, because as you can see here, it's not, first of all, really clear what is the problem. As I mentioned at the beginning, every coin has two sides. So at this point of time, I tried to firstly understand even why there is this complaining and what the product owner did, and what she can do in order to resolve. Because I wasn't in this situation, so I really could not be a big help at that time. So that's why I asked, okay, what did you do to resolve the problem, or what you can do, and actually how I can support you as a Scrum Master. At that time, I remember I told her I can definitely suggest mediation or even being in the meeting to support her to talk to the other person in order to maintain really the friendly, not blaming environment, let's say, to make sure that both people feel safe and comfortable. And the second point, of course, would be, if I understand it, I can also talk to the developer afterwards, but not even talking, I would say more asking the developer about the situation and really giving the structured feedback about, okay, this is what happened, etc., and understanding the situation. Talk to a manager, this would be already kind of escalation without having the information. So I would say this would be really last thing I would even consider doing. Okay, let's move on. As I already mentioned in the beginning, I believe communication is important in conflict resolution, but I would not say that just the communication, because you can communicate, with your non-verbal, verbal communication, have different tone of voice and etc. So just talking about things, it doesn't necessarily improve the situation. It's also how you talk, what words you select, what message you are sending. And that's why here we can see on the slide that congruent communication is the key to conflict resolution. Because when we talk congruently, it means that our communication is in consistency, that our verbal and non-verbal communication is the same. If I should give an example of, let's say, verbal communication, it would be that I'm now telling you that I feel really happy to be here with you today, and I believe you trust it because I'm saying those words, and I have also a smile on my face. And I also try to maintain a little bit eye contact when looking to the screen, even though it's virtual. Yeah, so my verbal and non-verbal communication is consistent. The opposite would be if I would talk like this and I would say that I'm really delightful to be here with you and speaking about conflict resolution, today. And you would see that I'm already distant, my eye contact is somewhere on the ground, my face was sad. Even I'm not sure if you see my arms, but I did this with my arms, so I blocked really the distance between us. So that's when our communication is not congruent.
Right.
I put here also some few tips and explanation about congruent communication by Virginia Satir. On the left side, we can see a man or maybe a woman, I don't know, a person, let's say, standing upright, having arms open, maybe even smiling a little bit and being friendly, at least from my point of view. This is the stance, how we stand when we are really confident, we say what we feel, we communicate congruently, and we care about what we want. And that's the circle next to that person. So we care about ourselves. We care also about others. That's the empathy, that we see the person, we listen to the person, and also try to understand what is their point of view on the situation and care about them. And the third thing is context. So in our case, it could be work environment, so company or a project where the situation happens. Yeah, so if we communicate congruently, this is in, let's say, harmony, and we take care about ourselves, others, but also the context. Some tips how to communicate congruently. Definitely, the first one is to start using I, not using you or them, or you didn't do it, you came late, and I feel angry right now, but really use I. Yeah, so I could have done differently, how I feel, what I want, etc., etc. Listen actively. Maybe also reflection for you, food for thought. What do you do when you listen to somebody? What do you do in your head? What do you do with your nonverbal communication? Because sometimes we listen in order to respond, meaning that we listen so we can, okay, and this is what I will tell you now, or to react. But listening actively is really listening to understand the other person. So really being there fully, not just with my body, but also with my mind, not being somewhere in my mind, okay, today I need to pick up kids, I need to buy some dinner, etc. But being really present with the person and listen in order to understand, not just to respond. Saying yes. It's not, of course, now you should say yes to everything, but have maybe even a clear boundaries between say yes and no. But thinking in situations where maybe you would say directly no, that maybe you can say yes, or how you can be more positive. Avoid saying but, because if you use, for instance, sentence where you say yes and following but, you are already kind of deleting the first sentence because it didn't make sense. Okay, because you are changing the context. So really avoid saying but. You can replace it maybe with and. Yeah, so when you say something, you continue and say, and we can do this, for instance, instead of but, which is already negative. When you are with person face to face, it's always good to make sure that you have the same eye level. For instance, with kids, it's really great example. I would believe if we were kids, at least if I would be a kid right now, and somebody would talk to me like this, going down, and I would be down like this, I would not really feel comfortable. So always, even if you have kids, you can observe how they behave afterwards, to just, go down. Or if the person is higher, then it's harder, of course, but always try to have the same eye level, because psychologically that, of course, creates safe environment, and not the feeling that somebody is higher than us or better than us, and etc. Face-to-face arm length, that's also a really good suggestion. If you have meeting face-to-face, what I always do, if there is a table, I don't sit in front of the person. If I have a meeting on a one-on-one, right? If I have 5 people in the meeting room, it's not like I can be next to everybody, but I sit across the corner. Yeah, so we are closer to each other. With virtual environment, what you can do, trying to have the eye contact, so looking to the camera, even though I may not be really comfortable sometimes when you present as I do right now, making sure that maybe half of the body is visible, not being just like this, with your head. I can really say from my experience as a coach, as Scrum Master, project manager, when I saw people just virtually and just like this, it's harder for me to support them in terms of any conflict or anything, because I can't really read the nonverbal communication. And sometimes it's something which says the most. Yeah, because our nonverbal communication is usually right. So even if we have words, not always we are really honest. So then you can a little bit validate the situation and question the person whether really what is happening is right or not. So always try to make sure that even the hands are visible and the half of the body can be visible. Just thinking, just to check if we have any questions so far. Okay, what is mediation? All right, so I will answer the questions which we have right now. Mediation is an approach how you can resolve a conflict, as I mentioned before. So I will link it to conflict, and basically happen the way that if there are two team members or two people who have conflict, you ask the mediator, or we can call it also facilitator, who will come and facilitate the discussion. Yeah, there are several methods how to do it. I would say the simplest one can be that one person can have a word and start talking to each other, or there are several exercises the mediator does with both people to uncover what is the problem and how both want to solve it. Yeah, so the exercises can be maybe kinder and better for people, as not everybody is so open, and maybe being even open would be more harm than benefit. So always, of course, up to mediator or facilitator what approach they will do. But I remember my last example. I wasn't in the situation, but my colleague had really big conflict between two people who didn't want to work together. Unfortunately, they were in one team. So he decided for mediation, and he selected several exercises through which they could uncover the problem, talk to each other respectfully, with empathy, and try to resolve it together. I hope I answered. Should there be a Scrum Master in every big team? In my opinion, as a coach, with my approach, not necessarily. I would say it really depends about maturity. Yeah, so in Agile, but also definitely in a team coaching overall, you can measure certain maturity. But here you are asking about Scrum Master, so I will talk about Scrum. So what we did in previous organization, we used Agile maturity assessment, where there were several aspects we measured. And even now, when I have a new team, I always set up with them the expectation, okay, this is how we are going to work. This is, of course, the product, etc., etc. But from more organizational perspective, I try to get them the understanding that, okay, the objective is that you are self-organized, mature enough to work alone, because ideally, from my perspective, there is not necessary to have Scrum Master, because if there is for a long time Scrum Master, I'm not really sure what the person will do. I think that maybe at that time it's more as a secretary or support, but if the team is mature enough, communicating, not needing any support in terms of facilitation, communication, or growth, let's say, I believe they could be without Scrum Master. But I think it definitely needs time. And then this would be for another presentation where we could go through the process of setting up the team, forming, storming, and etc. So afterwards, I believe they don't need a coach. I will proceed with the presentation and then go back to the questions. So we managed to go through everything. But thank you very much for the questions. And don't forget, if you are interested in a transformational coaching, put there your LinkedIn, so afterwards we can approach you. We select you for the coaching. So to sum it up, what I talked about, we can say that congruent communication from an individual can shape how others react and interact in response. It's true that if you start communicating consistently and openly and with empathy, the other person definitely would not maintain their pose maybe of blaming or being angry, but they will start open as well. Yeah, so it's not like that if you change, the other person will stay the same and still take the side. Quite the opposite. They will start slowly opening as well. And you can really shape and improve the situation. We have one exercise which we are not going to do right now, but it's for further reference and for you which you can try at home, and it's called Empathy Map Canvas. This is something you can easily Google and get the template, even maybe with more examples how to fill it in. I like this exercise because for people who are not really familiar with conflict resolution, and it's not really that natural to step into others' shoes, let's say, this can help you to navigate you through the experience or disagreement and think from other person perspective. And it really helps them to maybe change the attitude and overall be more empathic. There are several questions. I will not go through them, but for the reference, you can try it. It doesn't have to be disagreement. It can be just a relationship maybe you have in your personal life, at work, up to you. If you could not think of anything, I also created scenario for you here. It's not that concrete, so you have also opportunity to come up with some information. But this scenario, I would say, is enough for trying to exercise and experiencing it. So that's one thing you can definitely do for yourself. Also, I have some tips for handling difficult situations. Of course, can happen that at the time when you're maybe in the meeting, virtually or face-to-face, there can be any conflict or situation you are not comfortable with, etc. So I wanted to share with you what you can do for yourself. First of all, I wanted to say that it's definitely okay to feel and have the emotions, because sometimes people think that it's not good, that it's not okay, but it's supernatural. We were born with emotions. Those who said that they don't have emotions, I believe they have. Maybe they are just somewhere under the bottom. But what is not good to let reflect the emotions in your communication. Yes. So I have a nice example here from Don Miguel Ruiz, if you know Four Freedoms book, really love the book. So there is example actually of a worker, a man coming from the office, really angry about something, coming home, and his emotions, instead of working with his emotions and maybe calming himself, understanding the emotions, working with it, he directly go to his wife, spitting the anger to her. The woman, wife, goes to her kids, spit the emotions to kids, and the kids goes kid goes to dog, spit it to dog goes to cat, and cat doesn't have anywhere to go, so she's angry. Yeah, so this is really real example of what is happening in her life. So my tips for handling is to allow yourself to feel the emotions and get yourself to neutral state if you need to be in a situation. Yeah, so you can definitely excuse yourself from the meeting, even online, or you can just turn off your camera if you are not, for instance, presenting or something like that. Calming yourself with your breath. Breath is really great in this, even if you know any yoga breath or anything, just trying to deeply breathe in, breathe out for several times. This will really help you to calm yourself. And then when you're aware of your emotions, why it was triggered, what is your maybe posture in this situation, you can go back and communicate without reflecting the emotions. Any other support I would love to mention is the empathy canvas I already mentioned before. Mirror is great. If you've never tried, I really suggest to try. If you have a conflict or you would love to say something to someone, you can try to say it to yourself in a mirror. It's really powerful, really. 2 chairs. This is something I do when I coach others, but you can definitely also do it on your own. You can imagine, you can take 2 chairs, sit on one, and you can imagine that in front of you, there is the person, and you can start just talking what you want to say to the person. When you are done, you can swap and you will sit another chair, being in the role of person. So this is some kind of the same as empathy canvas, but with your body movement and feelings. And then you can talk like to yourself, to the other chair, how you react and what do you want. The second one is mentoring or coaching. Doesn't matter what is best for you. And the last one I would also suggest is mediation. And I already explained what it is. Maybe I will still go, before we go to reflection, to questions, which is what we have there. How should a new Scrum Master react to a situation when there is a tech lead on the team who tends to give directive commands to developers in a bossy manner? Publicly blames developers and creates for mistakes or failures, and questions initiative raised by the Scrum Master as a waste of time. Okay. This, I'm starting to smile a little bit because experienced similar, a lighter version of this, I would say, much lighter. But what I would do in terms of React, okay, I would talk to tech lead and I would give him a feedback. If you're not familiar with giving feedback in a really structured way, you can search for SBI, Situation Behavior Implication, which can give the tech lead really, let's say, the direct information about, okay, look, this was the meeting, you did this, and this is the impact it had on other people. Yeah, so this is definitely good to give feedback to other people and talk on one-on-one. I would not approach it directly on the team. Okay, developers. Also would be curious why tech lead is giving directive commands. If you are a Scrum Master, that's not probably Scrum. So I would probably need to know this organizational structure to understand better. But what if the tech lead is part of the team, I would come up with suggestions. First of all, I would not come up with suggestions. Firstly, I would ask him, look, this is the situation. What do you want to do about it? Depends, of course, on the person, how good reflection they have. There could be possibility to give some suggestions, like trying to rotate the person out of the team if he's not really necessary and is tech lead, right? So the team can get the trust and accountability and empowerment. But I would say feedback would be definitely good. And I would also try to understand what team members feel and what's happening in the team. And if there is, I'm trying to give some suggestions, right? I would need to know more information. But if he also questions initiatives raised by Scrum Master, again, my question would be whether publicly or face-to-face, I would, as a Scrum Master, definitely have one-to-one with him and tell him how I feel about it. In this particular scenario, I would not really feel pleasant, and I would tell him. And giving this feedback, I would also tell him what I would need. So, example, what now pops in mind would be that, okay, look, this is what you are doing. This is last time you did it, exactly saying really what he've done. I would say this makes me feel this way because my role is this. Also would be good maybe if you haven't done it before, it's good to have expectation metrics. So he really understands the roles, what developers should do, what you should do, etc. And tell him, look, if I can be a Scrum Master, I need from you to do this, or I need to have freedom, etc., etc. So I would really give the feedback and say politely your needs and feelings. And of course, another question would be, what is, again, the organizational structure? And if there is anyone else to probably discuss this with, if there is any manager, but it would be probably the last thing I would do. But maybe it would be the last thing which would work. I hope I answered to some extent. the conflict can be solved temporary for sure. It seems to me it will inevitably ends up one of the designers really with the team and experience with just conflict is a potential solution. Well, yeah, I think we can just debate now what would happen. I believe if those two are mature enough, they would stay in the team. If the conflict, which I think it wasn't this scenario, but it would be more escalated, maybe indeed, if they would really blame each other, the solution only would be that one leaves. And maybe it would be the idea even of other person. And that's actually what happened, I think, in the mediation I explained before. Yeah, so those two team members, even after mediation, and it can happen, and it's nothing bad. Like, if you don't feel okay with somebody in the team, it's total nature, and it should not be like convincing yourself otherwise. And I believe the solution was that one developer said, okay, yeah, I understand, everything's solved, fine, but I really need to move on. I want to leave. Yeah, and I believe then it would be beneficial for the person, but also for the team. So that can be also a solution. It doesn't have to be disaster when someone leaves. But of course, should not be the objective. Okay, there is more question to follow. I'm okay, you're okay approach. Okay, do you follow I'm okay, you're okay approach in your collaboration with others in conflict situations? How to deal with people who have the position I'm not okay or you are not okay, to bring them to the okay position? Maybe Tatiana, can you speak up and explain me a little bit what do you mean?
Yeah, of course. So there is this I'm okay, you're okay model where they say that both participants of the dialogue have to be with the adult and kind of I'm okay perception of themselves and of the situation. And normally, if the situation is escalated or is a conflict situation, one of the participants or even both of them are not in the okay position. Some may feel like I'm okay, but my opponent is not okay. So this is like a position of being kind of higher than another person in that conversation. In some cases, both of them can feel I'm not okay, but he or she is also not okay. So they are in a helpless position, so to say, in the situation. And there are these four combinations depending on who how perceives themselves and others in the situation. Not sure if that was a clear explanation.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm really interested in your opinion. And thank you, Clara.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tatiana. I understood well. I don't work with such a model. My objective always is that we clear the air, meaning that we approach the situation. Definitely, I try to avoid this assumption, meaning that somebody says, I'm okay, but I see clearly this person is not okay. I can hardly know what the other person feels. So that's why the mediation is really good. So they say it to each other. So I would approach it the way that, again, I would have one-to-one with each of them to understand what is their point of view. And then if it's necessary, have them both so they can share it. Because many times happens to me, and it happens already in coaching, when there is somebody coming with a problem or even a thing they want to say to somebody, but they don't feel comfortable because maybe there is higher position or status, etc. Once we start to do the exercise with the chairs or really positions, when the person goes to the person on the other shoes, but not on a logical level, like we talk like here, but really more transformational forms like using the body, sitting, really imagining there is this person, they are suddenly like, wow, maybe the person has totally different point of view and different problems. That's why he's reacting to this situation. And that's the time when the empathy kind of pops up. Yeah, so my answer would be trying to really resolve until they say out loud to each other, okay, this is enough, we cannot do more, or shake hands, yeah, this is okay, but not really assuming. So I think this is really more about method, how to use it, but I would not probably use this model. Did it answer?
Thank you for your answer. Yeah, thank you.
What was the book you mentioned? It was For Agreements by Don, I believe it's Don Miguel Ruiz. I hope I didn't miss up the Spanish names. Sorry, I sometimes write Juan Miguel. Yes, but I believe it's Don Miguel Ruiz, For Agreements. And we have a question: in a conflict between two persons, what to do if person is in a state that he don't want to understand anything and say, I'm right, I don't want to change. It's in a state that he don't want to understand.
Yes.
Okay, this one is tough a little bit. I would work with a person on one-on-one and try to understand what are, how it's called in English, not setting, but what are the beliefs. But this is already more already transformational coaching, and of course the person may tell you, I'm not really interested in your any coaching or something like that. That's possible, and definitely you will meet people who don't want to change. I personally, I don't work with those people. Yeah, so if somebody doesn't want to change, it's really a waste of time. I mean, and waste of your energy, because in that case, you will start working more than the person. And that's not really any good for the person and situation. So then, of course, it's good to evaluate the situation and see and validate even with the person. Like, look, there is a conflict. You are two in the conflict, so two equal, and you don't want to move. So how would you imagine going further? Really giving the responsibility to other person. So firstly, I would try to understand the beliefs, like with questions. Okay, and how do you feel about the situation when we are already about to resolve it? The person already talked to you, wants to resolve it, and you don't want to change. How do you feel? Or how do you see going further? What would need to happen next then? Yeah, and really understand what is going on in the person and what he wants then. Because, of course, if someone doesn't want to change, doesn't want to change. But I would try to encourage the change. If it doesn't work, I would leave it. Okay, that were all the questions. Now I have silent self-reflection for you. You can either do it in your head, or you can take a paper and a pen and answer the following questions. This is really just for you. The first one is, what have I learned today? I will give you a few seconds to answer or reflect. It can be something maybe new you experience, or something maybe already known, but now it was reminded to you and you want to use it. Next question is, what am I going to do differently? Next question is, what do I need for that? What resources maybe do I need? Do I need to learn something? Do I need to practice? Is there anything I need in order to change, do something differently? And the last question is, when am I going to start? When am I going to try to do something differently and apply it? I'm looking in my watches and I see we still have time. So if you have still any questions, feel free to write the comment.
So could you please go to the next slide while people are still thinking and they have any questions left? Meanwhile, I would ask you guys to provide your feedback. It's on the next slide, Clara. Yeah, we can see it now. So
Okay.
Clara, thank you for the presentation. We can see it here. I definitely took even some tips for myself. I hope everyone else did. Thank you all guys for coming today and participating in the event. Let's not forget to thank our speaker and leave the feedback. You can just scan the QR code on the slide and leave your feedback there, or you will also receive this feedback form in the follow-up email, also with the recording and the slides. Really hope to see you again on our future events. Please stay tuned and have a great rest of the day. If you don't have any other questions, I don't see any in the chat. Have a nice rest of the day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here and actively participate. I hope it was helpful and enjoy the rest of the day.